you can get another sort of touring seat for it. The gearing is okay. I mean, it's 5-speed. Sometimes I find when I'm out, you know, you're being first and it may be a little bit low, and then you go into second and it's a little bit high, but overall the gearing's fine, and the ratio's okay for going off-road. I think it's adequate. And then you've got top gear is adequate for the open road for cruising along, so there's no need to really change it, to be honest. The engine is smooth. The only vibration you can feel is if you really press your knees into the tank. You don't seem to feel any on the bars or anywhere else, or on the pegs. It's good. It's got a counterbalancer in it, so that helps neutralise any vibration. The lighting's not too bad. I would tend to put a higher performance bulb in it. I did go out on mine once at night going round to Barry's Bay on the peninsula, and I found that the lighting was very average. So, but you can get these H4 halogen bulbs in a plus 50 and plus 100, so it gives you a lot extra light. Obviously they don't last quite as long, but yeah, just depends on what's important, I guess. So it's air cooled, just has an oil cooler on the front here. There's your bash plate, so the bash plate's standard as well. You don't have to go out and spend extra money on a bash plate. So it's pretty much, apart from the things that I've added in the way of pannier bags for overnight or staying any longer period of time than a day trip, although I've even used them on the day trip, and I did today because the weather was unsure how it was going to be as I got nearer the Southern Alps. So I've got my main jacket in here. I can swap over if I need to, and I've got my leggings on here, and a few other bits and pieces in there. So yeah, I think overall I think they've done a really good job. They handle extremely well on and off-road, so they hold a line extremely well. I don't think you can pull them through S-beds and so on, but obviously they can't. They're not as quick at changing line as the likes of a Ducati Scrambler or something like that, but they do hold a line very well, and they're very steady through the corners. So it's pretty hard to fault. I think value for money. Okay, it's not the fastest bike out there, adventure bike, but I think you have to weigh up what's important. If you want to go off-road, then this isn't too heavy. You can manage it on your own, and if you need to lift it up, you can lift it up. Or some of these larger adventure bikes, by the time you get your gear on it, they're getting pretty heavy, especially with a full tank of gas. And the chances of you picking it up on your own are probably pretty remote. So there is that risk. Sometimes you can back into it and push it up with your bum. Is another way I've seen people do it. Obviously, if you've got crash bars and the bars stick out, then obviously the bike isn't horizontal, so you're part way to actually lifting it up. But I think for overall it's got enough power to do long trips. It ambles along quite happily, and it's comfortable, certainly comfortable, and suspension and everything works well, and it's simple, it's reliable. It's easy to work on, and it's not expensive to maintain. A lot of the work you can just do yourself very easy, and there's plenty of instruction on YouTube about adjusting your tappets and one thing and another, or taking the tank off. So it's not that difficult at all. I know when I had a relay put in on my bike, because I had a relay put in that switched off the USB power point, and also the heated grips, because originally they'd been wired direct to the battery, and I didn't want that. I wanted them on a relay. And when the guy took the tank off from the seat and he put in a relay, he'd powered the bike up with the tank off, and they don't like it, and it got an error code, a fault code, which come up on the dash. I mean, it still worked fine, it just had a fault code up there. But you can actually reset that manually yourself without having to use a computer, and that also is on YouTube. I just followed the guy's instructions, and I've actually got the instructions and the little wire that I used with me, and I was able to reset it and got rid of the fault code. So yeah, all round highly recommend. Good bike. It's my second one, and I think for having fun and exploring and adventure riding, you want something reliable that's not going to cost you a fortune to maintain. You can't go far past the Himalayan. I think they're reasonably well proven. There's a lot out there, and for the money, you're getting a lot of bike for the money. I think, you know, the DR is a reasonably good bike as well, but you don't have a carrier, you've got to buy a carrier. You don't have a bash plate, you've got to buy a bash plate. You don't have a screen, you've got to buy a screen. A lot of people that buy those also buy clear tanks, because they've got very little in the way of instrumentation. They've got no compass, they've got no fuel gauge, they've got no dual trip meters, they have no ambient temperature, they've got no clock. So the DR is basically a trail bike, but they are quite a good bike. But as I say, you've got to spend a lot more money on them to add the sort of all the things that the Royal Enfield Himalayan has already got as standard. So yeah, I hope you liked the review, and if you're thinking about getting one, the best thing I can recommend is take one for a ride, and take it for a decent ride, and just see if it's you. You soon know whether it's you or not, and go from there. Thank you for listening. Okay.